The Other Side of the Story, Fairy Tales with a Twist. This book has 5 stories in it. In this video, we will be reading about Little Red Riding Hood. Of course, you think the big bad wolf did a horrible thing by eating Little Red Riding Hood and her granny. You don't know the other side of the story. Turn the page and hear what the wolf has to say. Honestly, Red Riding Hood was rotten. The story of Little Red Riding Hood, as told by the wolf. Written by Trisha Speed Shanskin and illustrated by Gerald Gerlace. Chomp chomp! Oh, I'm sorry. I was just finishing my lunch. My name's Wolf. Big Bad Wolf. You may have heard the story of Little Red Riding Hood, about a girl and her granny. Seems everyone has. My tale is different. Did I say tail? I meant tail. Once upon a time, I ran out of food. Completely. The cupboards were bare. The freezer too. And I'd eaten every last vegetable and fruit in the garden. Every one. Other wolves might have lunged on little forest critters, chipmunks, bunnies, squirrels, but I'm a vegetarian. That's right, I don't eat meat. Well, I try not to. I love apples. Honeycrisp, Pink Lady, Golden Delicious, any kind really. But sadly, it was a long time until apple harvest. I hadn't eaten in weeks. My stomach growled and howled, it moaned and groaned, it even roared. Then my nose took over. Sniff, sniff, I took a whiff. What was it? A girl. Sniff, sniff, I took a whiff. What was it? Cake? Butter? In this forest? I had to investigate. And there she was, Little Red Riding Hood. She looked as plump and juicy as a big, sweet apple. Little Red waved her cape. "Isn't it pretty?" she said. "Yeah," I said. "Aren't I pretty?" she said. Was she admiring herself in that puddle? "With this cape," she said, "I'm even prettier than usual." Boy, someone sure was full of herself. My stomach growled. Little Red twirled a strand of hair. "Mother says the cape looks grand with my skin. My skin shines like pearls." Or the meat of a ripe apple, I thought, licking my chops. Remember, I hadn't eaten in weeks. Time to chomp. But then Little Red said, "I can't wait until Granny sees how pretty I am today. I'm bringing her cake and butter for my mother." My stomach howled. 2 meals, I thought. Granny for breakfast, Little Red for lunch, and cake and butter for dessert. "Where does Granny live?" I asked. Little Red pointed. "Down there, in the clearing, the brown house." I knew that house. I had a plan. "Let's play a game," I said. Little Red smiled. "I'm awesome at games." "I bet you are," I said. "You take this path. I'll take that path. And let's see who arrives at Granny's first." "I will," she said. "I'm the prettiest. And the fastest." "I bet you are," I said. My stomach moaned. Before it groaned, I ran. No one knows the forest like I do. I chose the shorter path. Sniff, sniff. I took a whiff. What was it? Apple air freshener? Tap, tap. I knocked on the door. "Who's there?" called out a voice. "Your granddaughter," I squeaked. "I brought you cake and butter from Mother." "Door's open," Granny said. Granny tugged at her nightcap. "Green," she said. "Isn't it pretty?" "Pretty like a Granny Smith apple," I thought. "Aren't I pretty?" Granny said. You must have heard the saying, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." Well, it's true. My stomach roared. "What's that noise?" Granny asked. "Chomp, chomp." I had to eat her. She was no Macintosh apple, but not too bad. I still felt hungry. Tap, tap. Little Red knocked on the door. Who's there? I called out, crawling into Granny's bed. Your granddaughter, Little Red said. I brought you cake and butter from Mother. Door's open, I said. Little Red walked in and caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Isn't my cape pretty, Granny? She said. Aren't I pretty? I clenched my teeth. Granny, Little Red said, what deep dark eyes I have. Mm-hmm, I said, the color of apple seeds. Granny, she said, what perfect ears I have. Mm-hmm, I said, shaped like sharply cut apple slices. Granny, she said, what pretty red lips I have. Mm-hmm, I said, red delicious. Granny, she said, what lovely skin I have. Chomp, chomp. I ate her up. What can I say? Things look different when you're hungry. She was no Fuji or Crispin apple. In fact, to be honest, she was a bit rotten. But she was better than nothing. Plus, I got dessert. If it had been apple season, do you think Wolf would have eaten Little Red and her grandma? Why or why not? Make sure to check out the other stories from this book on my channel as well. The links will be in the description box.